one of the things that as I mentioned to you up top, where I thought you were really honest about was and you just mentioned it before, how you got sobriety and how you were able to say, okay, I did that, and now it's time for me to get my stuff going, get my life on track. And because there's a lot of people, I talk about it kind of a lot often. I had on most recently, I had Jamie Campbell Bower on from like Stranger Things, and he's very open about it. Same thing. My brother passed away in 2018. Had some problems with substances and everything.
Sorry, yeah.
I appreciate it, but so I do. When people are out there talking about it and open about it, I think it's super important for people to know, because it's not, especially where you were at 12, 13, 14, and getting like you're essentially growing up around Tony Sirico. I mean, come on, it's not a normal childhood.
Yeah, for sure.
You know
Even growing up in New York City is just not a normal childhood.
It's not.
It's so crazy.
It's so crazy. So you go through all these. But the reason I bring that up is, what point where you're just being a kid, does it get to your head? Is it ego things? Like, I'm on the biggest fucking show. People are kind of kissing my ass a little bit. Like, what happened to where you're just like, no, I'm gonna kick back. I don't give two shits. This is just youth.
Yeah, no. I started smoking and drinking when I was 12, because when you grow up in the city, it's like you know what. A lot of times when I talk to, because I have brothers who live upstate, and it's like there's such a longer period that you have control of your kids when you live upstate, because it's like, oh, my brother's going over to his friend's house. All right, who's he going to see? His friend, the mom, and the dad, and you're going to pick them up, and they don't have a driver's license. They're 13, they're 14, they're 15. Right. Where are they going to go?
Right.
Maybe they sneak off in the backyard to smoke a joint. Maybe, you know, like that's like even a little extreme. And when I was 12, my friend would hit me up, come downstairs. You go downstairs, and you're hanging out. I mean, I remember we were 12, 13 years old, and we had homeless guys who would buy us booze. Because we hang out in the park all the time, and there were these other homeless guys in the park, and eventually you start talking to them and you'd be like, yo, we'll buy you beer if you buy us beer. Right. And they would buy us beer, and then we had a whole fucking, and but a lot of times people say, like, you think Sopranos made you, and I was going to be,
Wouldn't have mattered either way.
Yeah, it's in my family. It's just, what I loved that, and I think, and I think a lot of it, when you start to get older, that shit hurts, man.
You cannot, you can't retaliate the same way.
Yeah, it's like, this shit hurt, and I think what happened was, when I was 12, 13, 14, all the way up until whenever, 20, in my early 20s, it was fun.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, I'm fucking having a blast. Sure. And then I think there was a period where it wasn't fun anymore, but it was all I knew. It was hard for me to change my life, because I was like, well, I only go to these bars and these clubs and these places if I did stop, because I don't want to be in this pain anymore. What do I do?
Right.
Like, I didn't even understand I didn't know who I would be without my addictions,
Yeah, well, plus your body was used to it. It probably wasn't easy just saying, like, I'm going to stop now. Your body said, what the fuck? I've been doing this for so long now.
For sure, yeah, because I was addicted to painkillers, Xanax, alcohol. I don't like. It's a weird thing with alcohol, because I know what my addiction was to pills.
Yeah.
Then when I think about alcohol, it's like I think I was just a binge drinker, and this where even when I was at my worst with alcohol, I could always stop. And the other thing was, I always associated alcohol with fun, with a good time.
Sure.
So it was like, I remember I would be, even at the worst, when I was drinking the most, you'd be at a funeral, and somebody would be like, "Yeah, let's go to a bar." I'd be like, "Are you nuts? Like, what do you mean go to a bar in between the, like," right. I'm like, "You want to drink our friends? Somebody's dead." Like, yeah. I just never associated, drinking with bad times, which I'm so grateful for, because I know a lot of people who struggle with addiction, that's when they go back. It's like, things are off the rails, things are really bad, I'm going to go to that.
Right. You
that
associated
drink.
it more with fun, and that might be even more damaging because you start relying on it to have fun.
Right, and it's also like the thing of, I grew up idolizing these rock stars and everything, and I remember the first time I was like in a nightclub, I was like, this sucks. And then I remember getting wasted, being like, oh, this is awesome. Right. I was like, so it was kind of like, I mean, now I'm 40, and the fact that I want to be on my couch at 8 p.m., I don't give a fuck. I'll say that right to somebody. Even when I'm dating people, I'm like, I'm not going to bars with you. I'm not going to your girlfriend's birthday at midnight at a bar. Like, it's just not happening. Where when you're, 16, 17, 18, you don't want to be like, oh, I'm uncomfortable at a club, or like, because I was lucky that, well, lucky or not, but like, by the age of 16, 17, I was able to get into all the clubs in New York City. And of course. So it was like, we're hanging out. We're having a good time.
Yeah. Well, that's what I meant, though, too, is yes, you didn't necessarily, as you said, it it wasn't because of Sopranos the reason why, but it certainly didn't hurt to be able to say like, oh, don't worry about that place. I can get us in there.
For sure.
Yeah.
But for me, it's kind of, I look at it as the opposite, which is a lot of people are like, do you think it's because Sopranos of your addiction? And I'm like, I think Sopranos was the reason I was able to stop.
Oh, really?
Because, I had so 4 of my friends, just who I brought to the last premiere of Sopranos, have passed away.
Oh, shit. I'm
Just
sorry.
the last premiere. Yeah, thank you. But, and, a lot of those kids, if they were still alive, maybe they're living with their mom, they're miserable. So my point is with them, it's like the struggle to change their behavior and the addiction, when they look at what's waiting for them on the other side is like, well, what? I fucking live with my mom in the same building I grew up in, and it's just all bad. Where for me, I was like, I had the greatest opportunity in life. My life is gone. I can go on and do these things, and all these doors are open for me, and I'm gonna, keep. So it was. I think it was easier for me when I was deciding, to be done.
To turn it around, look, and it also you probably have a great support system around you too that you probably definitely wouldn't have had you not had this show, because you seem to obviously have a great relationship with Jamie.
Yeah.
And then when it came to it, you said you started drinking at like 12 though. Did it affect your work at all on set, or you never took it with you to set?
Never.
Okay.
Yeah. No,
okay.
that was so I would. A lot of times when I would drink, because I was doing coke and everything in my late teens, early 20s, doing a lot of coke, like 17, 18. And so if I would go to drink, let's say on a Friday, I'd still be hurting Monday, because I'd probably party Friday, Saturday, maybe into Sunday, and then you sleep, and then Monday you hurt. So my point is, if I had work on a Monday, I wouldn't even drink on a Thursday.
Okay, so you were balanced on it to where it wasn't totally reckless. It wasn't good for you, but it wasn't totally reckless. You understood, I'm not going to fuck up my opportunities here. I know exactly when to pace this stuff out. I'll work until when I can get fucked up, and then start working on Monday, Tuesday, whenever you had to.
For sure. And it was like, Jim was the leader, and he set an example in a lot of ways of like, because Jim's job was 20 times harder than mine. You know what I mean? It's like when, and again, I'm not trying to say, oh, acting so hard this, but it's just time consuming. When you're the lead on a show and you have to be there from Monday to Friday, all the times they're working, and then as soon as they go, okay, you can go home now, he goes, okay, I have to go learn 8 pages or 12 pages of the next, and that's where it's like there were times he didn't have a second to himself to think outside of Tony and it's tough. So I knew for me, there were a lot of times where I'd work 2 days a week, and it was like, no, this is like, there was so much respect and appreciation on set for everyone that I knew, like, I would never let, because you hear stories of like Lindsay Lohan didn't show up for work, and she's on like, Herbie the Love Bug, so it's like, when you're, on Sopranos, the way we were, it was like, you're not gonna, and especially me, because some of these people had been acting for 30 years, 40 years, and they finally got their big break. I was a fucking 12-year-old kid who was like, everybody gets on the hit show, like, and it was just like, I always felt that and knew like, I'm not going to mess this up.
It's also the one cast also that you definitely don't want to mess up around.
Right. And I remember the only time I messed up twice. One time was my 21st birthday.
Okay.
And it was because I came back from Vegas, and I had to work that Tuesday, and I came back Monday, and I just had no voice. Like and I was like throwing up in a garbage can. I was a mess for sure. But I showed up, and I could do it. And they were like, we need to just go home. They were like, we would have to shoot this over. You have no voice.
Who has the conversation with you? Is it David?
No, it wasn't even like, because I only had like 1 or 2 lines. It wasn't like a big scene for me. So they were like, we're going to shoot the whole scene, but then your part will have to do another day, because you could barely speak. I was like, no, I could do it. Like, my voice was gone, and I was oh my God, I went to Vegas for my 21st birthday. I was first time ever in Vegas. It was out of control.
As you should.
Yeah. Right. And then, and they all understood. Like, that was the thing where they were like, you got back in time, you're here, you just can't. You have no voice. And then the other time was we were shooting I think we were shooting in Long Island, and it was like Johnny Sack's daughter's wedding.
Okay.
And there's, hundreds of people, because it's so many extras in this. And somebody came to us at the end of the day, and they said, hey, we have a bar down the street. It's yours. You guys can take it over tonight if you want. And we're like, okay. So we go party hard. And because again, it's like when there's a wedding scene like this, you are just in the background. Like my job was to sit there. I didn't have a line, but it's like when they pan back, they need to see you sitting there, you know? So you need to just, sometimes you're sitting there for 12 hours and you're like, I'm here, but so what, you know? And yeah, and I remember we got wasted, and I remember a guy from set, a friend of mine, coming to wake me up. Like I was like 2 hours late to set. And they were like, yo, you're lucky they haven't turned the camera to the side where they need to see you guys. So like Jamie and Jim and Edie are just sitting around like not doing anything, but they're like, and he brought his car to like get me there in like 4 minutes, you know? And we fly in. I get in the outfit and I walk into set and nobody knew I wasn't there.
Oh, really?
So I mean, so Jim lucky. And Edie and, you know, people at the bar from the night before, they knew. But like, you know, the director and these people, they had no clue.
That's that. I mean, that again, the youth.
Yeah, it was a 10-year run. I had two bad days.
And I'm sure there were a lot of other bad days from other people as well. Too.
Yeah.
I'm sure there were.